thank you everyone for coming. WebdriverIO cribs, right? I wanted to do like this cool hip hop introduction, like welcome to my crib, right? But I grew up in the countryside and I don't think I could pull it off. So I will just say welcome to the Selenium Meetup, and thanks everyone for coming here. Just by show of hands, who of you has been part of the Gitter community channel and has been there for a while? Some hands. I see 3, 4. That's cool. So I was really excited to have everyone here to, put finally a face to the icon. So yeah, my name is Christian. I work here at Sauce Labs, obviously, and my part here is I work in the DevTools team. So we do a couple of cool things like extended debugging and the new performance feature that I will show you in a minute. I work for WebDriver, I do the WebDriver project with a couple of other people that are helping me. And I am the AC rep for the W3C. That means that I can go to important meetings and discuss and nerd around protocols, which is fun. OK, yeah, while you're all here, I wanted to present the new version that we have released a couple of weeks ago. And pretty much want to answer the question, why did I let you rewrite all the things? And personally, I don't care because I don't use WebdriverIO that much. So it's just my sandbox project. I can do whatever. But I know that you guys care, and I wanted to put some meaning behind why I did all the things. And the most important, before I started, I obviously had some goals. Why it's not working? I obviously had some goals behind it. And the reason is I couldn't keep up working on WebdriverIO the way I did before. I pretty much did a lot of things by myself. It was hard to get started, to contribute. And I couldn't do it. If I wanted to have more people using it, I couldn't do it the way that I did that before. So there are a couple of ideas that I had around. And in order to, OK, it just takes a while. In order to have a project, like any software project growing, you need to make it sustainable. You need to be able to scale. And with open source projects, the problem with scaling is that you don't need to have more servers or more computation power. You need to have more people on the team, right? So there's a great quote from TechCrunch. Working day jobs maintainer today can struggle to find the time to fix critical bugs, all the while facing interesting demands from users requesting free support on GitHub. Maintainer burnout is a monstrous challenge. And I saw that for me too. I couldn't keep up with in the same way I was working on WebdriverIO. I couldn't continue doing that. So I wanted to try to build a new version that is people-focused. I wanted to get more people on board. I wanted to have more people continuously contributing to the project. And the way I got the first goal, getting more people on board, is to make it really easy to contribute. There should be no problem. Everyone should be able to contribute. No TypeScript stuff, that people need to know about. Just plain JavaScript and plain easy setup to let you guys, do some experiments with WebdriverIO in the core. And the way I wanted to get more people involved on a constant level is, getting them a kind of promotion, making them important. And I did that by, promoting some guys to the technical committee and put on some governance framework, which is a people framework. You put in some governance and help to scale the project. So yeah, I wanted to do the people first thing. And the first thing I did, I put on a V5 wish list. So I wanted to know what you guys expect from an end-to-end testing framework. And I really got some interesting insights, and we put that on the roadmap for the version 5 development. The next thing I did was put in some governance. Like I said, there is a people framework behind this open source project because you need to have it in order to scale, to get more people on board that help you with the daily jobs of an open source project. And this is the simplest thing that you can come up with. It was also enforced by the JS Foundation, which is the umbrella of the whole project. So there's a technical committee that are there are people inside that are able to release new versions, and there are project committers that just have access to everything. And that's a small start. I made experience in the Node.js community, and the Node.js project is much larger, And they have like tons of different working groups, starting from internationalization, instrumentation, going out, making talks. There's a bunch of working groups that are concerned with that project. And WebdriverIO was like in the beginning of getting there, but it's still the first step, putting governments in there. So the first cool thing is version 5 was developed 12 months. We made 800 commits, which is a quarter of what we did the 5 years before, was 7 years even. And the cool thing about this is we had 32 unique collaborators, which was awesome. Like 32 people helped me out to build a new version and get it out. The most interesting, of course, all these commits are not separately or equally separated. Sure, some people did more work, some people did less work. But the coolest thing about this is after we released WebdriverIO in December, 7 weeks later to today, we have 223 more commits and doubled the unique collaborators. You can see down there the amount of contribution that came in just by having a people-first framework on top of this. And it's really cool. Especially after the release, we put in a model where every feature will be squashed into one commit. So pretty much everything that was contributed contained even more commits, and you can even compare that with the model before. So what has changed? First of all, we put in a new module system in the way that we had separated projects. The Mocha framework and the reporters had all separate repositories, and that didn't scale. When I wanted to update one dependency in one project, I had to release all the projects that were dependent to it. That wouldn't work or scale at all. And it would also make it difficult for new people to understand the whole release process and be able to contribute to it. So we used the Learner.io, which is a popular framework to maintain a bunch of packages that somehow are connected together and are somehow dependent together. There are React, Angular, and some other big projects that use this system. And if you go to the GitHub page, if it shows up, if you go to the GitHub page, you see all this internal project that we officially maintain and all the versions behind it. And don't be confused by the version numbers. They are not need to be the same. So if I, for instance, update the WDIO reporter, automatically all the reporters that we have internally there are automatically updated as well. So that only packages that require an update will be bumped. What does it mean for package names? Usually we had the WDIO/something/reporter or service. That has now changed. We created a namespace on NPM so that you guys know everything that starts with @WDIO is officially maintained, which actually means nothing really, because there's still the ability for everyone who needs to have a special functionality in place to just deploy your own package to NPM and have it there. And you can still use that with the WDIO/something/reporter or service. The cool thing, though, is that if someone decides not to maintain such a package, we can just override it, and the @WDIO packages will be preferred, which is a neat feature. Getting back to the packages that we have separated now. Those are the packages that you actually just need to know. The WebDriver package, WebdriverIO, and WDIO CLI. The WebDriver package is a really small package that is just concerned to make the request to the driver. So it has 6 JavaScript files and 6 JSON files, and there's not much logic in it. Just what it does is send a request to the server and get it back, and have all the definitions of the protocols that are out there defined in JSON files. So everyone who wants to change or add a command from a protocol, just go into JSON file, add it, and we automatically get not only a new function to the client, we also get the documentation in place, and we also generate the TypeScript for the type definitions for TypeScript. Then WebdriverIO is like a more opinionated package that is concerned about testing a website and automating a website. It has some more opinionated ideas about how you should run your tests or how you should address an element. And at the end, WDI CLI is there if you want to have a test suite and you have a test runner that you want to run across different test files. As an example, the WebDriver one, you just spin up, you call WebDriver new session, give in your options and capabilities. And it's really a low-level API, so all the commands, you have access to all the commands that are based on that are supported by the protocol. And you need to know such weird things like this reference to the element, which is this kind of stuff is hard-coded in the protocol. So if you want to use that, you need to kind of know it. But this is what you get if you use a raw package, a non-opinionated package like this. So if you install it, you get really the two protocol bindings. And the commands are defined based on what the first session request returns. So you make a new session, and we provide the JSON wire protocol capabilities and the new WebDriver capabilities. And based on the response of the protocol of the driver, we say, OK, this is a driver that knows the W3C protocol. This is a driver that still supports the old protocol. And for instance, we support, if you see that's an Appium server, so we apply the mobile commands to it, as well as the mobile JSON wire commands. If you run Chromium, you get some nice Chrome commands that are only working in Chrome. And we have some special source apps commands that we just, we have them for a while, but that are special just for running tests on source. Yeah, that package is super easy to maintain. It just contains basically those JSON files. And like I said, you get that, what the protocol and the driver supports here. So here's an example how that kind of JSON file looks like. It's has all the endpoints and the commands to it and the description, so we can build up a nice documentation on top of it. The WebDriver protocol then uses the raw bindings to do some more magic on top of it. As you can see here, you have a magic dollar command or function that can query an element. And then you can call just commands that are important for elements on those responses. So you have browser commands like get window size or set cookies that are really just important if you use the browser, right? And then there's element commands that you need to first query an element to call, click or anything like this on it. And like you can call these commands synchronously, so you can use some native JavaScript functionality to loop over it, to filter, and get the first result and click on that. That is all working. What has changed compared to version 4 is that you cannot chain elements anymore. So if you do a click, you cannot do something else after that, because click returns nothing. There's nothing behind it. So you need to do a new line and move forward. You can only change element commands, right? If you query and body and then chain that with another element command, for instance, div, then it looks for a div within the body. So those element commands you can chain as you like, but everything else is not chainable. Not yet. And then, as you know, the WDIO CLI has the config file. You specify your tests, you specify your capabilities as an array because you want to run your test concurrently, right? And it runs everything for you. It creates logs files. It creates a bunch of things that are going to help you during your daily tests. OK, let me show you some features. What do we have? DevTools service. So I created a new DevTools service because our team was really involved into how can we bring the advantages of the Chrome DevTools service into your testing when you use Chrome. And I created a DevTools service that allows you to performance testing. That allows you to access the Chrome DevTools commands and do some interesting stuff on it. For instance, here, that service, if you add it, for instance, here, we have the DevTools service added, and then you can open a page, and by being connected to the DevTools interface, I know everything that's going on the network. I know I have access to everything that's going on in the browser, basically. And if you open a URL, I cache everything, every network request, and you can, for instance, assert on how many, what's the image load, like how many images do you load, and you can compare that encoded versus non-encoded, so you can test if someone has forgotten to minimize or compress the images or the style sheets, right? A different way of being able to test performance. In this case, I use some DevTools commands to throttle the CPU or set the network to regular 3G, like what you have on the phone with bad connection. And then I would trace my page load. You can trace everything in that sense, but in this case, I'm interested. I want to open the page, and I want to see what's the first meaningful paint, the first time to interactive, and the speed index. And you can assert on that. Exactly. And the same stuff you can do without the DevTools service on Sauce Labs by now. So if you have heard, you can use the throttle network command, which is described in the Sauce Labs protocol, that uses the native Sauce Labs WebDriver extensions to throttle the network. Then you open the URL, and we have everything captured for you. So after that, you can call the Sauce get page logs, and then you get the Sauce performance data for free. And if you have seen the blog yesterday, we released Sauce Performance, where you can assert your performance and restore the performance data over time. So you just say assert performance, and we know if your performance has decreased or increased, and we assert on that.
Beta version is live.
Beta version is live.
How about that?
So the way it works, you have the usual way over the Chrome driver, which is a HTTP-based connection. The Chrome driver is then connected with via WebSockets to the Chrome browser. But at the same time, the service tries to build up a connection to the browser directly in parallel and create some custom commands for you that you can do star tracing, get the page logs, and all that fun stuff. OK, next new feature, which is not, it's kind of new, but we built an integration to Applitools. So that Applitools. So you add an Applitools service to your config, and then you run a visual test. And you have the take snapshot method that takes a snapshot for the current page wherever you are. And I think I can run this. There we go. So it runs a test locally. And behind that is a package maintained by the Applitools people that do all these weird things about determine the screen size, determine taking the image and uploading it to Applitools. And that has been passed because I don't have any baseline yet. But if I reload this page, I have my first images here. So you can use that to have an easy and simple Applitools integration. What else? Watch functionality. So as you might know, we have released the headless container offering, which is a super cool way to have tests that test certain components in a really quick way. And the watch functionality adds to this because it doesn't close down the sessions and keeps the sessions alive. That makes the testing and the testing of your features even faster. I have a demo for that too. There you go. So you think about that. You come to work and you start working on your React components, and you have a storybook or something like this. You get in and you run the WebdriverIO watch component. What you see here, I have spin up 96 tests in parallel. And they are running. They are booting up. And you see the dot reporter. And it feels like almost doing unit test, right? Some tests fail, of course. It's probably Firefox, but that doesn't matter. Blame Firefox. So I have a test here. Where is it? Headless. There we go. So I have a test here. And the watch functionality watches your test and at the same time your application. So if you change something in a test, it just reruns the test. If you change something in your application, it reruns all the tests that you have specified. So in this case, I have a simple test here, opening a web page with some credentials before, and just check if you have access to that page. So I just save it, and it just runs that test within 2.1 seconds. I can do another test, like checkbox, and it runs 6 Chrome and 6 Firefox headless tests. So this is cool, 2.9 seconds. I mean, that's like unit testing, right? And I have like I don't prepare like a real application. The tests use the internet website, if you have heard of it, like where I can just show off some demos. So I just have a guinea pig HTML page, which should demonstrate my actual application. And if I press save here, it runs all the 96 tests again within, I think, 10 seconds will it be. So if you change something in the React component, you have all the tests rerun again. There we go, 12 seconds. So that goes really quick. And that is only because headless is really that fast. And we store the sessions. We don't shut them down. So we have immediately access to the driver and to the browser. Debugging. Debugging is really important because you don't have really access to the browser if it runs some commands. So I wanted to have a way to allow you, if you don't get further, if you have stuck into a problem, if you cannot fetch an element, instead of tweaking the test, rerun the whole test, you should use the debug command and then be able to access everything that you have at this specific point. So there are some, if you have checked out the WebdriverIO core repo, there are an example folder where you can run test the mocker, Jasmine, with a custom reporter, just to check it out. If you make code changes, you can see how that has affected the whole test runner. And I prepared something where I run a test, I just open the URL, and then I call debug. And I also made sure that my timeout is high enough so I don't run into those kind of issues. And if I run that, just need to find it. So it will start up. And it will stop at the point where the debug command is called. So I'm here now, and I can call all commands synchronously, right? So I do this small, I get all the elements, and then I could, can you guys see that? Then I could do a map and say, get me all links with, get me the name, the text of all links. So I call a get text. And there you go. I just can play around with elements and do some automation on my console and see what's going on at that point in time in my test. What's cool though, and which is new in version 5, and I'm excited about, is you can also just open the DevTools. And there's a green button over there, which means that I have a node process in debugging mode. So if I click on it, there's a new DevTools window. And if I go to the console, I have the browser right here. So, some people are comfortable with writing and debugging in the terminal. Some people like the DevTools console better. So I can just be like, OK, browser.url, then get me to google.com. Oh, that's what's wrong. There we go. I tried to get the synchronous thing working on the DevTools. It didn't work. The node process crashed all the time. So you need to use the wait thing, but you still have everything that you usually have right there. So you can fetch elements. You can fetch multiple elements and scroll through them and see what's available. How does the object look like that you're working with, right? And work on the console instead of the terminal. And of course, the last thing, which is a new build website, it's using the Dockersaurus framework, which is used by React as well. We promote some features here. I want to promote all talks that I see on the internet right there. So if anyone gives a talk at conferences about WebdriverIO, I would just have it there. We have a full revamped documentation about how everything works, about the test runner, and of course an API description with all the protocols commands and the commands that you have available in WebdriverIO that you should primarily use, but in some cases, you want to fall back on some native protocol commands. Like I said, for sales labs, we have get page logs. You can throttle the network, and you can assert performance, which is new. In Chromium, did you guys know that you can, there's some auto reporting, and they have a function to check if the alert is open. We really digged into the Chrome driver source code to find out what's available there. And yeah, and we have, of course, a blog where we have almost a new article uploaded, but there was still some things missing. So we want to have blog posts by the community. When you guys have something built with WebdriverIO that's amazing, just make a pull request, and we have a new blog article so everyone can gain from that kind of knowledge. So I wanted to use some time to tell you how you can upgrade at the end from version 4 to version 5. There's nothing much changes. I just had a discussion today that it took some people a week to upgrade. There are not really much changes as that. And there's a great guy, Kevin Clamping. He makes a lot of videos about WebdriverIO on YouTube. And you should check out that video where he goes, in my blog post, I described how you can upgrade from version 4 to version 5. He went through all the steps and showed how an actual project can be upgraded from version 4 to version 5. So instead of wasting your time, you can just do it whenever you want and watch the video for that. So what's next? I was thinking a lot what we can do next. My personal goal is still focus on the community and build people around the project, so I can at some point be like, well, that's something interesting, I want to do that now, and the project can still survive. So I took people first. I wanted to do this pairing session at some point again, where every week for 1 hour, whoever wants to build on WebdriverIO, we're going to pair with each other and then try to get a bug fix or try to implement a feature, whatever your company needs or whatever your testing requirements are. I wanted to do that. I want to be more available on Gitter to help you with problems there. Technically, there's a cool thing that I wanted to do, the Lambda runner. In version 5, you can run locally on your terminal. It spins up processes and does the working, like the testing thing. I wanted to push that out to a Lambda function, so you can pretty much run 1,000 tests in parallel without even remotely touching your CPU. I think there could be some interesting use cases. And then also, fix some stuff on the protocol that needs to be fixed at some point. One last note, if you use WebdriverIO, you know that there's a Gitter project where you can always get help. But be patient. There's a lot of people there, but not everyone can give you the help that you expect or need. Just be descriptive about the problem, and there will be people that give you hints. But what I want to say is do some work on your own as well, because sometimes it feels like people rely on you if you help them out and you do all this stuff instead they. So always be mindful about doing their own work first and then get some support from the channel. And yeah, at the end, thank you everyone for being here. Let's have a beer later, and if you have any questions, let me know. Now you. 24/7, yeah. I literally, when I open my laptop, I have the Gitter channel open, and you can pretty much reach me all the time. Any questions?
Any questions in the back?
Jonah.
Where does the dollar sign, how does that come into require or import and take the dollar sign, or does it get auto-corrected?
I just registered it in the global scope. Oh yeah, the question was how the dollar sign happens, like how you assign it or how that happens. It's just for the test runner.
Okay.
So if you run WebdriverIO in standalone mode without the CLI thing, you need to do browser.$. For the test runner, I can just inject it into the global scope, and you have it immediately accessible.
Yeah. Ooh, we have another question over here.
For the DevTools service, do you know if other browser vendors plan to expose some of those capabilities?
Yes, so there's a proposal on the WebDriver specification that we want to have access to the DevTools interface from the browser that we are running. And this is something that I want to push forward in the working group, that this is possible for all browsers. And then I can extend the DevTools protocol to make it working in all browsers, because every browser has a different DevTools protocol, but it's easy to adjust in some cases.
More questions? Oh, we have another one over here. And it seems like a small room, but we have the audio capacity, so why not?
Hi, Mohan here. You talked about the performance stuff with Sauce Labs, right? Like I'm in the same question what you just asked about the DevTools. So is it only for, is Sauce Labs supporting only for Chrome, or like is it for all browsers?
So yeah, there's some conditions to that. So you get the Chromium protocol embedded, like added to your client when you run Chrome driver. You get the mobile protocol applied if you run Appium. For Sauce Labs, you need to run, of course, on Sauce Labs, and you need to have the extended debugging capability set to true. That's all you need to have all these commands available. Because it's not, we are currently not have the default for that. We want to go there, that everyone has automatically extended debugging capabilities there, but we don't have that yet. So you need to set this capability in your test, and you have it.
Great question. Do we have any more in the back over here? Oh, we have another one over here. Yes. We love questions here at Sauce Labs.
I have a question related to the upgrade from 4 to 5. Do I have to upgrade it at one shot, or can I somehow manage to upgrade person by person at my own pace?
Unfortunately not. Once you have the WebDriver version 4, you cannot have version 5 in parallel, unfortunately. I don't have a good solution for that. I think you just build it in a branch, for instance, and try to push forward until you have everything, and then you merge it in. But I don't think there's a way to seamlessly allow have both running in sim.
And I think that's also a great question to continue, because Kristen's going to be here after, so we have a little bit of networking. So
Yeah.
if you don't have a question now, I'm sure you'll have one later, because we've got more beer. More questions? Anyone in the back? Well, Christian will be here after. Thank you so much. Take another
Thank you.
hand for Christian.